We walk by faith and not by sight. No gracious words we hear from Christ who spoke, as none e'er spoke, but we believe him near. Hello, and welcome to Know Before You Go, a program of the Dominican Central Province of St. Albert the Great that allows us to take a look ahead at the upcoming weekend's readings. I am Father Jim Marchanda from St. Pius Priory in Chicago, and I am happy to be with you as we approach the 19th Sunday in Ordinary Time. Already in the middle of August, toward the end of summer, and we are getting a pretty good set of challenging readings about making sure we are always ready for God whenever God wishes to engage in us and to engage with us. That song that I sang from Marty Haugen, "We Walk by Faith," pretty much sets the tone for what the readings are about today. We walk by faith, not by sight. And our ancestors before us have all walked by such faith. We hear that in the first reading from the Book of Wisdom, in which the author says the night of the Passover was known beforehand to our forefathers, that with sure knowledge of the oaths in which they had put their faith, they might have courage. So that first reading from the Book of Wisdom, it's very short, but it encourages us to keep our faith and to have courage no matter the storm, no matter what we ever have to face, based on the promises that we have inherited that have been handed down to us for thousands of years. The second reading is from the letter to the Hebrews, and it sort of recounts the kind of faith that Abraham had. It says that by faith, Abraham obeyed when he was called to leave his home and go to a land that he knew not. He had the faith to go and to trust. He went not knowing what was before him. So Hebrews recounts the kind of faith that Abraham and Sarah had, in a way of inviting us to having the same kind of faith in our lives today. When we come to the Gospel of Luke sort of reiterates the same kind of theme, telling us to be ready for God at all times. Now, an important thing to know is that by the time Luke wrote his Gospel, Jesus hadn't returned. They thought he was going to return right away after the ascension. And so all of a sudden it's starting to strike them that this imminent return is not so imminent. He's not coming so quickly. And Luke is warning them to not grow lax. Just because the Christ didn't return as quickly as they thought, don't grow lax in your faith. Don't falter. Now, you're going to have a shorter version of the gospel and a longer version. Because it's summer and because people are on vacation, I fear that your preacher might choose the shorter version that just says, "Blessed are those servants whom the master finds vigilant upon his arrival when he comes home from being away from the house." And at the end of that little paragraph says, "You also must be prepared, for an hour that you do not expect the Son of Man will come." Now that's the short version of the gospel. And basically, it's just saying to us, make sure we're always ready to meet God. Whether we meet God at the point of death, or when we meet God daily, in all the encounters that we have throughout a day. Be prepared. Don't grow lax. Be ready for whenever it is that the Lord may wish to appear to you. I hope that your preacher will choose the long version of the gospel. It's only a couple of paragraphs more, but it contains some very, very rich sayings that I don't think we should miss. It opens so beautifully by saying, "Do not be afraid any longer, little flock, for your Father is pleased to give you the kingdom." Trust in what God wants to give you. And then at the end of that paragraph says, "Where your treasure is, there also will your heart be." So if our treasure is God, our heart will be with God. If our treasure is with things that are holy, our hearts and our minds and our actions will be along the line of things that are holy. Wonderful line. I hope we don't miss it. And then he goes on and he tells 3 short little parables. But in the end, he says that there's a parable of a master that was gone, and when he comes back, his servant was responsive to all of the other servants, took care of them, didn't take advantage of them, didn't take advantage of the master's absence, and was ready when the master came home. He said that there's another story in which he did take advantage of the master's absence. He did take advantage of his being gone, and he beat the servants, and he was not very responsible at all. And when the master came back and found that, he would punish him severely. In the very end of that little parable, Jesus says, "Much will be required of the person entrusted with much, and still more will be demanded of the person entrusted with more." That's probably the line that I most hope you will get to hear. Much will be required of the one who has received much, and even more will be required of the one who has been entrusted with more. My friends, to the degree that you and I can say we know blessing, to that degree for which we should be most grateful, we must be ready and willing to grant blessing to others. If we believe we have been blessed, if we believe we have been graced by the presence of God in our lives, then our only response can be to be a blessing and grace in the lives of other people. We cannot neglect our responsibilities. We cannot neglect our duties. If we've been given much, much will be expected of us. If we have received bounteous blessings from God, we must be the bearers of bounteous blessings for others. It's so clear, so that when God comes to engage with us, God will find us engaging with others, granting them the same blessings that we have received from God. It's that simple. It's that basic. Let us make sure that we never take advantage of our faith. Let us make sure that we never take our faith for granted. Let us make sure that we are acting upon our faith day after day after day, no matter when we might meet God face to face, that we're not waiting until that meeting day to suddenly step up and assume responsibility for being agents of God's goodness. No, we are agents of God's goodness every step of the way. We are agents of God's goodness every moment of every day, 24/7. Let us fulfill our responsibilities to these readings. The readings say, trust in all that our ancestors have handed down to us. Never take it for granted. Always trust. And be ready to meet God whenever God wishes to meet us, in the actions of goodness and kindness and mercy that we show to others. Let us not take our faith for granted. We walk by faith and not by sight. No gracious words we hear from Christ who spoke, as none e'er spoke, but we believe in it. God bless you and your families.